This Warmaster Battle report is a 3-player game. Each turn players will roll off to see who gets to act first. Each player is fighting for control of a central objective. The first player will be using the Bretonnian army. The army features a mass of peasant infantry. There is also some missile support and a strong strike force of knights. The second player commands an Orc army. The Orc army features heavy infantry, with both heavy and light cavalry, 2 giants and 2 wyvern riders. The third player commands the Tomb King army. The army is composed of light infantry, a huge strike force of chariots and cavalry, with monsters in support. An army that has uncontested control of the portal will score 1 point at the end of each turn. The undead deploy with their infantry in cover. The cavalry and chariots are split into 4 separate brigades and positioned to go forwards. The monsters are individually spread amongst the brigades to lend their support where needed. The undead characters are similarly spaced out to issue their commands. The Orcs have loaded their right flank with heavy and light cavalry. Their heavy infantry dominates the centre of the battle line, while remaining light units occupy the left flank, supported by 2 giants. Orc characters are also placed in support of their long battle line. The Bretonnians deploy in a very tight formation. Their infantry brigades form solid battle lines on 3 sides. The knights are deployed further back as a mobile, hard-hitting reserve. The characters are interspersed amongst the brigades to issue orders. With all 3 armies deployed, the battle commences. The Bretonnian general, the Duke of L'Orange, seizes the initiative and moves first. Infantry brigades move forward cautiously towards the Orcs and the Undead. Not wishing to expose their flanks, the Bretonnians then end their turn. The Undead general, Tomb King Rabatiti, moves next. Cavalry and chariot brigades are ordered forwards in a general advance. The Undead make a strong push forwards to capture the portal and begin scoring points. The Undead brigades keep clear of the Bretonnian infantry on their right. Undead monsters support their cavalry in the face of Orc units to the front. Lich priests begin casting spells at the Orc cavalry, denying them charges in their own turn. At the end of their turn, the Undead are in control of the portal with a lone bone giant. The Orc general Goreguts now commands his horde to advance. On the Orc left, a giant is ordered to advance towards the Bretonnians. Infuriated by the smell of garlic, the dim-witted creature runs headlong into the nearest unit and begins jumping up and down on them. Orc infantry then advances through the centre, led by the Green Pride Parade. More Orcs surge forward toward the objective. Orc cavalry moves into charge range of the Undead cavalry on the right. Goblin cavalry and infantry move up behind the giants on the left. Orc Shaman drive back a unit of undead chariots with a Geroff spell, whilst Goblin Shaman do the same to Bretonnian knights on the other flank. A Goblin Shaman then casts Gaze of Mork down the Bretonnian infantry line, causing mass confusion. Several infantry units are driven back by the spell, and away from the giant, much to their relief. In combat, the terrified Bretonnians are crushed underfoot by the rampaging giant. The giant then advances into a second unit, causing further damage before falling back. At the end of turn 1, it is first blood to the greenskins, but the undead are in the lead. Turn 2 sees the Orcs go first, with the giant smashing straight back into the enemy infantry before they can react. Goblin Wolf Riders make use of the light cavalry rules. They evade forwards towards the undead lines, clearing a path for the waiting boar boys behind to charge. 2 units of boar boys engage the undead cavalry with the Sphinx. Another unit of boar boys then charges the flank of the bone giant, whilst the remaining orc cavalry reposition to await the combat. On the orc left, a second giant charges into combat with Bretonnian peasants. However, archer units inflict some damage on the beast as it charges home. Orc infantry units surge forward under the command of their general, and catch the undead cavalry and chariots in close combat. The undead are now hemmed in on 3 sides by the greenskins. Elsewhere, Goblin Wolf Riders move up towards the objective, whilst Orc characters move forwards to influence the upcoming combats. The Wolf Riders take aim at the Bone Giant on the objective, and with startling accuracy bring it crashing down. Orc Shaman infuse a unit of boar boys with the power of the war. They make short work of the second Bone Giant before advancing into the flank of the undead cavalry. Heavy Orc infantry rip through undead chariots and cavalry alike. After a brutal round of close combat, only a single undead chariot remains. The Orc infantry brigades then fall back in good order to await the inevitable countercharge. In combat, the 2 giants continue to rampage through the Bretonnian infantry, causing heavy casualties. They then both fall back in good order to pick the bodies from between their toes. More Orc boar boys smash apart units of skeleton cavalry. However, due to the presence of the Sphinx, the Orcs end up losing the combat and are forced to retreat, with the Sphinx in pursuit. The undead respond with a massed chariot charge, attacking the Orc infantry and cavalry that punished them last turn. More undead units race forward to capture the portal once again. Undead characters join the fray and raise a unit of Ushabti, spelling doom for the trapped boar boys. Undead chariots ride down the Orc heavy infantry, but the Orcs fight well, and although they lose the combat, they inflict heavy losses on the undead charge. The undead then redress their lines, determined to hold the portal for one more turn. The Bretonnians now respond by sending infantry units to fight one giant, while others race toward the portal. Both the Orcs and Goblins and the undead have exposed flanks that the Bretonnians may attack this turn. Bretonnian infantry are ordered forward to contest the portal, whilst cavalry assaults the undead flank. A unit of knights is then sent forward to attack the second giant. However, the bulk of the Bretonnian force holds back this turn. All three armies have now closed in on the portal, hoping to score points. Bretonnian wizards attempt to aid their troops through the use of magic, but are thwarted by the enemy spellcasters. In combat, vengeful Bretonnian units hack into the giants, and both beasts are brought crashing down. By the portal, the Bretonnian light cavalry eliminate a stand of undead cavalry. However, against all odds, the undead fight back well and end up pushing back the Bretonnians. The Bretonnian action is sufficient to contest the portal this turn, and while the majority of the Bretonnian army remains unengaged, they have prevented the undead from securing an early lead. At the end of the second turn, all three armies are now poised to clash over the portal. In turn 3, the undead manage to continue their momentum. First of all, a carrion unit homes back towards a character. Ushabti stumble forwards into the path of Orc cavalry, whilst undead cavalry and chariots assault the Bretonnians on the portal. Reserve chariot units attack the Orc heavy infantry. A unit of skeleton archers charge out of nearby woods to assault the Bretonnian cavalry in the flank, whilst other undead infantry retreats in the face of advancing Bretonnians. Undead characters then reposition to support their troops. A regiment of tomb guards are raised to bolster the fight at the portal. The Orc heavy infantry units are ridden down by undead chariots, whilst the Bretonnians are swiftly dispatched, leaving the undead in firm control of the portal once again. After the undead assault, the Orcs are left with some cavalry units on their right, whilst Wolf Riders face off against Tomb Guard at the portal. Can the undead hold position for one more turn? The Goblin Wolf Riders begin by using their light cavalry rule to evade away from the Tomb Guard and towards the Bretonnians. This frees up the Orc infantry to charge the undead lines. On the Orc right, Boar Boys charge Ushabti, whilst Wolf Riders dance around chariots. Wolf Rider archery drives back some Bretonnian infantry, whilst the Boar Boys make short work of the raised Ushabti. Ogres and Orc Boys rip into the Tomb Guard at the portal. The Orc units destroy the Tomb Guard and advance into the cavalry, but are pushed back. The Bretonnians continue their assault upon the Orc lines, with cavalry, infantry and knights attacking Wolf Riders. Elsewhere, Bretonnian infantry units advance cautiously around terrain. Peasants push forward to assault the undead defended positions, while a unit of knights charges undead archers near the portal. The Bretonnian artillery squishes a stand of goblins and drives them back. Peasant bowmen eliminate skeleton bowmen in the woods. Remaining Bretonnian infantry units move up behind the general, as goblins stand and shoot into combat. Skeleton archers miss their targets as the knights thunder home. The fight between Wolf Riders and knights ends in a stalemate, with one stand lost apiece. The Bretonnian light cavalry and infantry fare no better against the Wolf Riders. The goblins are victorious, throwing back the Bretonnian advance. The victorious goblins then pursue their foes, wiping out the infantry and severely damaging the cavalry. The Bretonnian knights fare better against the undead, however, destroying the unit of archers, before advancing into the flank of the undead cavalry holding the portal, pushing them off the objective. Undead begin by charging chariots and sphinx into remaining greenskin cavalry units. Carrion and a lone chariot charge the knights on the portal, whilst a single cavalry stand attempts to obstruct the oncoming Bretonnian knights. Undead infantry hold their defended positions. More Ushabti are raised into combat with the Boar Boys, whilst another unit of Ushabti are summoned to fight at the portal. The zombie dragon also joins this important fight to tip the balance in favour of the undead. The undead are victorious, eliminating the knights and reclaiming the portal again. The greenskins immediately respond by charging the raised dead at the portal. Infused with the power of the war, they will make short work of the Ushabti. Wolf Riders and a Wyvern are thrown into combat with Bretonnian knights. The knights fail all their armour saves and are wiped out, whilst the goblins survive unscathed. On their right flank, the Orcs have lost their Boar Boys and Wolf Riders to the undead. In the centre, the Orcs and Ogres smash through the summoned dead at the portal. They advance into the lone chariot and push this away. The tattered undead forces can only watch as the beleaguered Orcs steal the objective from under their noses. Bretonnian infantry now take an opportunity to charge greenskin and undead cavalry units. Bretonnian peasants attack skeleton archers hiding in a wood. As the Wolf Riders stand and shoot into their combat, a unit of halflings emerges from cover and charges the undead cavalry in the flank. The undead are eliminated, allowing the Bretonnian infantry to join the attack on the Wolf Riders. The presence of the Wyvern in this combat will terrify the human infantry, and the melee results in a bloody stalemate. The Wolf Riders and Wyvern fall back toward the portal, whilst the Bretonnians have failed to break through the greenskin lines, leaving them in charge of the objective. With the scores even, every player has a chance to win this turn. The undead starts by homing carrion back towards a character. A unit of chariots then charges the orc flank on the objective. Carrion attack another orc infantry unit in the flank, whilst more carrion join the fight on the objective. This is sufficient to kill off the remaining orcs and break their army. All remaining greenskin forces retreat, leaving the undead to redress their lines and attempt to control the portal. The Bretonnians respond by sending their infantry to assault the undead units at the portal. The general then orders in the cavalry reserve. Two units of knights charge the undead chariots, whilst whilst more units of knights and infantry sweep around the undead flanks. Bretonnian magic sends another unit of knights crashing into the undead chariot reserve. The fresh units of knights eliminate their undead opponents and surround the chariots holding the portal. The chariots are then also brought down, breaking the undead army and leaving the Bretonnians masters of the field. The game then ends with the Bretonnians having scored 2 points to the other player's 1.